So I wanted to take a couple of seconds and show you a resource that I've talked a lot about in the last 4 or 5 years, and that is BachScholar's Sight Reading and Harmony. Now, I know I've made other videos out there that show how this resource works and how you might use it, but I really wanted to take another stab at this and try to see if I could do it better this time because I've been recommending this to more and more customers over the last few weeks, couple months, and I really want to share my love of this curriculum with anyone out there that might be at a place where they're ready to, take their sight reading up uh, to the next level. And this was one of the resources that really helped me. Now I've mentioned this before, but when I started using sight reading and harmony, it was when I kind of hit a lull in my method and technique. I'm not sure if that's going to be the same for everyone. But I got stuck around method 6A or 6B or something like that. And I heard about this sight reading and harmony. I forget even how, but what attracted me to it is that you learned how to get better at reading 4-part harmony, which I knew I was struggling with in the Sasser because, if you've never read 4-part harmony before, let's see if I can go find a hymn here. I'll show you what it is. So 4-part harmony is around level 6, 7, 800 in the Sasser is where you start seeing 4-part harmony. So here's a random piece right here. And if I was to, describe what 4-part harmony is, it is, and many of you may know this, but, this top voice, there's 4 voices, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? You're reading them top down. And so it's a very vertical oriented way to think about music. And you may be thinking, how does this get to sight reading and harmony? I promise you I'll get there, okay? So just bear with me. So 4-part harmony is the basis of what sight reading and harmony is all about. It is learning how to read 4-part harmony. And when you look at this piece right here, you'll notice that every single boom, 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 there's always 4 notes, or almost always 4 notes in each thing. So, if I play these first couple lines, now you may think, how did you know that was going to come up? I truly believe, I've probably heard this song and played it, but I truly believe that from playing so many hymns and playing sight reading and harmony, I've learned how these voices work. And, there's a lot to dissect here. I'm going to try to be brief, but as you can tell, I'm maybe not the best at being brief. There's a lot of things that come into play when you're playing hymns. So let's get back to describing this. So 4-part harmony, there's 4 notes in each thing. And what you choral people would call this is SATB. You have the soprano, the alto, the tenor, and the bass. And these are like conceptions, or this is something that if you've ever been in a choir before, you're probably familiar with. You probably know, oh, I'm a soprano, I'm an alto, or I'm a tenor, I'm a bass. For me, I kind of think about it as tenor and bass is usually the men in the choir, and soprano and alto are usually the women. I could be totally wrong there. That's just my little brief experience in being in a choir. I know that I was in the section that was kind of right between the tenor and the basses. I forget what they even called me. I wasn't a true bass, but I wasn't a tenor either. I tried to be a tenor, but I wasn't. My voice isn't high enough, so I was kind of right between there. And there were some guys that had some pretty high voices there, and they were only tenors. So I'm sure there's exceptions, but mostly this is kind of how I naively see it, is that. So why is it important that you know SATB? It's not super important. You should kind of know that it's synonymous with 4-part reading. And basically, that's the name of each part is, instead of just saying this is part 1, 2, 3, and 4, it's soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. Now, what makes it more important is what are these voices doing? So let's dive in here and look at this. So if you look at this first voice, I instantly see this is F major. This is also F major. This is also F major. And then this is G minor, I think. Yeah, G minor, F major, C major. I'm looking, it's all vertical. It's all vertical. Okay? You can see there's an F major in the right hand and then an F and an A in the left hand. Now we have F and C and then the F and A is in the right hand. So you're reading vertically. And this is why a lot of, I remember my college professor saying, this is my piano teacher, he was saying, if you're able to read hymns, then you're a pretty good sight reader. And then I one time asked my theory professor, Dr. Gosden, what's really good sight reading material? And he said, well, Bach chorales are kind of like hymns on steroids. So that's going to be a good segue back into the Bach chorales. Okay, so Bach chorales. Now, I don't want you to think that Bach chorales are really, really hard, because I just said, my theory professor, Dr. Gosden, called them hymns on steroids. They are, okay? They are that. When you get into level 10 here, I'll show you where I am right now, and I'll show you that I'm decent, but I'm not ready to be done with sight reading and harmony. There's still more for me to learn. But you can see there's 4 parts, but instead of them doing just one, bum, 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 you'll see the bass line is moving. Okay, I already missed a note. Oh my gosh. Okay, so moving voices, lots of accidentals, passing tones, all this kind of stuff, contrary motion. It's very difficult. But this is not where Bach's, like, sight reading and harmony starts, okay? So this is exercise number 113. You could think of the melody maybe being this top voice. Okay? And I mean, everything has a voice. Every part has something that's interesting, but the soprano is usually going to be the one that is most considered the melody. So let's go to exercise 113, where sight reading and harmony starts, which is level 1, and you're going to see it's the same thing. It's just maybe, that actually might be the exact same thing. Maybe a little bit more simplified, maybe a little bit different fingers too, because you're only playing the soprano. But that's what makes this resource so cool, is you're playing a Bach chorale excerpt, but you're only playing, and where it starts, you're only playing one voice at a time. So you're playing soprano, boom, 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 boom. And then you go through, after you play the soprano, you play the right hand. You play the left hand. And that's all you do for level 1. So very interesting harmonic stuff going on here. It may be a little hard to see when you're only using 2 voices. It's easier to see with more voices in standard SATB. But what you're learning to do in sight reading and harmony is read 4 parts, and you're doing it with, stuff that is really good music. Bach is, I've learned more and more. I heard people say it so much, and I didn't understand it, and I'm starting to understand it more, is that Bach really is, a genius. He really is the man. And this is just a great resource. The chorales, just a fun fact, they weren't even written necessarily for piano. They were written, I believe, no, someone probably knows. I believe I'm not wrong here, but I believe they were written strictly for choir, which is why they're called a chorale. So they weren't necessarily written for piano, so that's why playing them is pretty hard. But this resource claims to be able to help you do that, and I think it is helping me do that. You're supposed to be able to go and play any kind of chorale after going through this resource. So I'm excited to get to that step and to let Dr. Corey Hall know when I finish. He told me it would take me, I don't even know how long, years. I didn't think it would take that long, but here I am, finally getting back to it 4 or 5 years later or 3 years later, and I'm excited to finish it. But yeah, it's just fun to be able to tell you all about this resource. It is so valuable, and I believe it's something that's going to help you. It's already helped me in many ways. Being able to identify chords really quickly, learning when to grab certain notes with your left hand. That's a big part of reading hymns. And in this hymn that we were just looking at a couple seconds ago, you may see, what was it, this Almighty King? This 3rd chord right here, this F in second inversion, I actually play the F and the C in my right hand. Because going from A to C is a huge interval. It's, what is that, a tenth? And that's something I can hit reliably. So learning how to, it's called redistribute. It happens in classical music. It definitely happens in hymns. And you have to be able to do that on the fly. So I'll just play through this real quick and you can see when I redistribute. Right there is another one. And this is, you see 2 C's there. So you really only need to play it in the left hand, but that could totally throw you off if you're not used to redistribute. And I'm just saying this is F major. Redistribute. So this piece, has some redistribution in it. And that's something that gets taught in this sight reading and harmony class. So really, these are the reasons why I really love sight reading and harmony and why I think you should give it a serious look if you have not already. Using it, I also urge you to buy the book. It has some exercises in there, which you see, we have this part 3, which I started inputting these finger independence and the legatos today. I never finished putting it fully in there, but I'm kind of getting back to it. I'm getting psyched about it recently. But yeah, buying the full book, you can also see I think it's like $20 for the PDF. You're supporting Dr. Corey Hall, and I totally urge you to do that because he's an awesome guy. Dr. Josh Wright, he also did like a whole YouTube video on this book because he knows how amazing this book is. He can see how much work went into it. You also get to learn like the psychology of how Dr. Corey Hall believes that you should use this book. So I'd urge you to buy it just for the forward, even if it's just for that. Like he talks about just kind of the psychology of it. It was one of the first books I ever read the forward on, and I really enjoyed it. So piano books. But yeah, this is an awesome resource. Please look into using this. I've made videos before that show you how to use it. Like if I just convinced you in however long this video has been, probably too long, 12 and a half minutes. If in 12 and a half minutes I've convinced you to like give this thing a try, don't just go in here to grade 1 and start playing. You could totally do that, but there's a better resource in Piano Marvel. That maybe seems contradictory, but there's a resource, I should say, in Piano Marvel that will help you figure out what level you should start at, and that is called the Sight Reading and Harmony Sample Exams. Now, in an effort to keep this video as concise as possible, I'm not going to go totally through this. I don't know. But you want to go to a sample exam. You want to say, available as boot camp, and you want to see if you can place what grade you can place into. So like, let's just look at it. So grade 1, exam 1. You'd go to grade 1, and you'd pick any of these exams. You could pick any of these 4 exams. I guess I am going to explain this. So you want to, Dr. Corey Hall in his forward says, everyone needs to start at grade 1, but he did tell me if you can place out of it by doing the sample exams, then that's kind of how you can make going through this resource a lot better, because there's a lot. This is years of work going through this whole book. So you got to pick one of these exams, okay? So go to the sample exams. And this is, again, if you're really interested in going through sight reading and harmony, you would do this, okay? So you would go to the sample exams, and you would pick one of these 4. Anyone at random. Don't look at any of the music beforehand, okay? You just go in here, you say available as boot camp, and then you start the boot camp, okay? You just start it. Now, if you're really intense, what you do is you just immediately press play, and you just play this piece, okay?
Go.
So you play through the piece, and there's 6 of them in that little boot camp. There's 6 of them, okay? And they're going to get continually harder as you go through that. So let's go back over here to the improve your sight reading section. So they're going to increasingly get harder. I don't want to spoil it for you, but there's 6 examples. And your goal in this boot camp is to stay above a 90% as your average. Like, let's go down here. When I took grade 1 exam 2, Let's see if there's one that I actually have a grade on. And you can see I got a 94%. So that let me know before I went to the sight reading and harmony, okay, I don't need to do grade 1 because I'm scoring above a 90%. So basically, this is one way to use the sample exams is placement into the sight reading and harmony, because there really is loads and loads of work here just in one grade. Okay, and there's 10 grades. There's 150 exercises in the even number grades, and there's 300 because the hands are separate in the odd number grades. So you want to make sure you use this placement to help get you put in the right spot where it's going to be challenging but not too hard. Okay. The other way you use the sample exams is after you figure out what level you need to start in. So like, let's say, and I'm not going to do it to save time, but let's say I went through grade 1, exam 1, and I got a 99, okay? Then I went to grade 2, exam 1, which I had never done before. And if you had done one of these before, then go to the next one. Do something different, okay? That's why there's 4 exams, is to give you flexibility. So you go to an exam you've never done before. So now I go to grade 2, I get a 100%, let's say. Grade 3, I get a 97. Grade 4, exam 2, I get maybe a 92, okay? Oh, I'm getting close to getting below the 90. Grade 5, let's say I go in there and I get a 97 because it's hand separate. That's not that bad. But then I go to grade 6 and I get an 89. That would let me know that I need to go to BachScholar's Sight Reading and Harmony, and I need to go to grade 6. And I just need to start going through every single exercise, which you're seeing I've done here. So here we go. So you have soprano, alto, and bass here. You have no tenor. And there doesn't seem to be too much redistribution going on here. Maybe there is some later on. But you have to play through and see for yourself. Now, the last thing that I want to end on is, what do I recommend in Piano Marvel? I recommend, as you see here, getting hundreds on everything, okay? 100% on everything. Now, you may have situations like where you see this little blue star down here, where I was able to get, I got a 99 there, then I got 100 on the fast. And that's just because, maybe on the slow, you don't need to do it because you're like, oh, that's easy. I'm just going to go here to the faster one, and I'm just going to get my 100 real quick. That's fine. Your goal, though, is to be able to get a 100% on the fast speed of every single one of these exercises. Okay? And then after you finish all 150 with 100%, even if it takes you 30 times to play through, let's see what how many times it took me to play my last one. It took me 8 times to play through this, It took me 8 times to get 100%. But that's fine. I believe, and I think for a certain fact, that learning to do this is teaching you patterns, just like learning your scales. It's teaching you how to redistribute. It's teaching you all the little secrets and stuff like that for playing in 4-part harmony. And this is advanced 4-part harmony, okay? So I'd really recommend getting 100% on everything. And not worrying about the fact that it's not technically sight reading if you're playing through it, okay? Dr. Corey Hall, he talks about it in his foreword. He says, don't memorize anything. So I would view memorizing as like, making it where you don't have to have the sheet music there. I'm not ever doing that. I'm always looking at the sheet music, as you just saw. But I'm playing it over and over and over and over and over again. So, there may be things that have kind of like muscle memoried out, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's memorized. Like, I couldn't play what I just did. I have no clue what I just played. I know it starts off on a 10th or something like that. I don't even know. So I think that's the point, okay? So I'm sorry for this huge ramble session. One last thing before I go. After you finish playing through every exercise at 100%, that's when you go back to the sample exams and you test yourself, okay? So let's say you go through all of grade 6, pick a random exam, maybe exam 3, go to it as a boot camp, And you can see I went through it and I got a 98%. Okay. I will say, as a signing off thing, I've never, after going through and getting 100% on everything in the grade, so in sight reading and harmony, going through all 150 at grade 6, I've never failed one of these exams. I'm eager to see after I finish grade 10 if that's the case or not. Honestly, in all transparency, I'm worried that I'm not going to be able to do it because it's so hard. But we will just have to wait and see how I do. Look, I got an 85% the last time I did this. I don't even know. I was 50% of the way through, so that wasn't even, yeah, it's hard. It's very hard. Look, the first time I did 9, I got a 90, 97 after I guess I read through it. So, yeah, use the sample exams like that. Use it first as placement in the which grade you should start at in the actual book. And then after you play through whatever grade it placed you in, that's your test on where and did you pass that grade. And I've always passed it. And that means after you do that, boom, you've just graduated on to, in this example, grade 7. I really hope this was helpful. I really hope that I've inspired you to check out this resource. Thank you so much for your time today, and happy practicing.